All right, welcome back everyone to another, not just the week, but the playoffs of the PBO. That is correct. We are in the playoffs. We're in the third seed. Yeah, right? Wait, fourth seed, third seed. Yeah, third seed. Sorry. Third seed going up against the Brooklyn Banettes. But yeah, the reason why we didn't have a week 8 was because our opponent did thankfully forfeit to us, because otherwise we had to go up against the Wichita Weaviles. I still think I have a bad matchup against both, but I decided to take the forfeit. They kind of respectfully allowed me to take the forfeit because it also didn't change the fact that they were already in playoffs. So yeah, that's basically what happened for week 8. And then before playoffs, I actually made one last trade. I actually traded Hisuian Braviari for Basque Legion female. Obviously really strong because it still has last respects, and you've got to respect the last respect adaptability Basque Legion, which I think is really good. Overall, I mean, we do get rid of one of our ground immunities, which is really bad, but so obviously we have a very prevalent ground weakness, but I think having Basque Legion is just very, very strong and useful for me. So yeah. This week, we are going up against the Brooklyn Banettes, which has the following team: Iron Valiant, Salamence, Typhlosion, Hisui. Not even this week, it's playoff week 1. Toxtricity, Didon, Sparse, Pincurchin, Iron Treads, Iron Leads, Clawblitzer, SQ, and Scum Tank. So, the first time we versed them, they actually brought kind of a peculiar team. They actually, for the first time, did not bring Electric Surge. And we did end up winning that match. We got pretty good sweeps off, I think, but we did learn a lot. And also, you know, playing this matchup is disadvantage to me because I always post like the YouTube videos of my sets because you know, content, but it's really unfortunate now he basically knows those sets, which also could have been really good because I was basically building that team along Pincurchin Always Coming, and it's really hard to basically like make another team off that, but also like for him, he doesn't know whether I'm going to bring the same team or not. So it's definitely interesting, but this time I'm definitely thinking he's going to bring Pincurchin back because I think almost every time he's brought Electric Surge Pincurchin, and I think it's actually pretty strong, just because the terrain is so useful for all the other mons. I do have ways of dealing with it, but I'm not actually going to bring them this week. So let's get into it. So what are we bringing? We're bringing Elm Streak Sneasler. Has a very good chance of sweeping again. The only problem with this one is that it's not an Endure set. I was still thinking about bringing an Endure set, and then I thought, like, okay, I could still bring an Endure set, but the likelihood of him bringing Iron Valiant Shadow Sneak is probably pretty high now, or at least he's rocking Rocky Helmet on something, or he's either like Scum Tank Aftermath. All ways of potentially stopping my sweep. So I'm thinking to myself, I still want to sweep, but obviously I don't want Endure. I'm definitely thinking Electric Seed, or I was also thinking Endure, but actually having Rock Slide to prevent Rocky Helmet chip. But then if I had Rocky Helmet or Rock Slide, basically Rock Slide, Close Combat, Swords Dance, Endure, then I can't take on the Iron Valiant, which is really bad. So we do basically need a way of hitting Iron Valiant. Also, Dire Claw can be really useful in case I'm not able to sweep. I can still spam Dire Claw to make things get status, which is kind of nice. I might end up trading that mood out. I'll probably think about it more. I'll let y'all know about any changes before the actual match themselves, but Electric Seed, I think Pincurchin is like super always coming, so this Electric Seed is actually pretty useful because it does give us +1 defense, meaning more than likely you'll be able to set up on something. After a Swords Dance, Salamence comes in and intimidates. Then we kind of, I think after a +1, I think we're guaranteed to live even like a Rock Slide, even if we Terra Flying. So that's why I think we should just Swords Dance again and then go from there. I think his best play would, we've got to play around a lot of shit, but I think his best play would actually be to switch out, like essentially allow me to Swords Dance up another time just so he can hit me again in the future. But anyway, Yeah, Sneasler, I'm thinking about changing out Dark Claw, but Close Combat and Acrobatics pretty much hit the whole team. And our Acrobatics should definitely proc, even like after our Electric Siege is gone, our Acrobatics can still do a lot of damage. So that's the main point of this set, and it has a lot of sweeping potential. Next, I thought about bringing this the first time actually, but I ended up not doing it. Sandaconda, Smooth Rock, Sandspit. I am like super weak to ground, so I know Iron Treads is like 100% coming because it's too good not to bring. So Smooth Rock, Sandspit, obviously for my Cocaine Dog in the back. I like Smooth Rock because it allows me more sands turns, and also I think I have leftovers on something else. Maybe I don't. I should probably, I don't know, I'll think about that. Maybe leftovers is better here, but Earthquake, Glare, Rock Slide, Stealth Rock. I was initially thinking this as a lead, but I mean, it still could be a potential lead as like a counter lead of like a prediction of me leading Hatterene. But essentially we can take on Iron Treads with Earthquake. I don't think it's ever going to bring Ice Spinner, specifically because it gets rid of the terrain. Glare is pretty much like in case turn 1 we lead this on the Pincurchin. I don't know if he's going to want to stay in because Earthquake will always 2-hit KO, and I don't know if he wants it to get that weak. So I'm assuming that he's going to want to switch, meaning that's why I've got Glare. Rock Slide is also for Salamence, and then Stealth Rock, of course, is really good chip overall. It's a lot of the team for neutral. So that's basically Sandaconda. Then we have Lichen Rock with Sand Rush, Focus Sash, Close Combat, Swords Dance, Stone Edge, and Play Rough. This also has a lot of sweeping potential. Of course, we need to watch out for the Fighting Resist Berry on Treads. But besides that, this has a lot of, I'm pretty sure it like pretty much sweeps everything after Swords Dance. But it still does a lot of damage without Swords Dance, but not enough to kill things. We need a lot of chip in order for that to happen. So basically, this is Cocaine Dog. I also thought about running Excel Rock, but then I didn't have good coverage for it, so I basically need Close Combat for Iron Treads. Could have also run, what's a Drill Run, but actually Dunsparce Coil is actually pretty problematic, meaning we have to bring Close Combat. Swords Dance to help us sweep. Stone Edge is obviously really good stab, and then Play Rough is to take out the Valiant, because it resists all of our other moves. Next, we have... Music is fire today. Dumbledore with the Rocky Helmet, Magic Bounce, Baton Pass, Mystical Fire, Psychic, and Dazzling Gleam. This could also be another really good potential lead. It's fully defensive to take on the Leaves if it comes, as well as can take a hit from Valiant even if it has Poison Jab. Rocky Helmet is just really nice to get off some chip, and I think chip is going to be important for if we need to sweep. Maybe we don't need to get a +2 on Cocaine Dog to basically sweep the game. Baton Pass, Mystical Fire, Psychic, Dazzling Gleam pretty much hits all the squad for super effective or neutral. And I am running a defensive nature instead of offensive this time. I think it's a little bit better for me. As well as if I'm in a passive situation, I can always Baton Pass out. This is also a really good lead for Pincurchin because Pincurchin I think does max like 38% to me. Of course with Discharge it does have a chance to paralyze. I'm also talking really fast. It's because I'm nervous. I'm like really anxious about this match, but because I know it's going to be hard. Baton Pass is really good. This can be a lead for Pincurchin. Essentially, we prevent spikes from coming up, and Pincurchin can only go for Memento or like Discharge. So it's either going to just sit in and take unnecessary damage, or it's going to switch out, which I think we can just freely Baton Pass out into something to counter it. So say, for example, let me think. So I think the most situation I'm thinking of is like directly Pincurchin into Treads. So in that scenario I could always go for a Mystical Fire, or I could Baton Pass. I think Baton Pass is probably always the better play so I can get in Sandaconda. But yeah, this is essentially a really good lead. Also slow Baton Pass, very useful. Clippers, the Rotom Mow, another defensive check to Iron Treads because of how strong it is. Also just a really good defensive check to anything that's setting up on me. Last time we did this match, Dunsparce with Coil was actually super problematic. I almost lost the game if I didn't like I wouldn't even say like outplayed, but I definitely had to like go for some risky shit where I basically had to nasty plot my Tatsugiri on his roost just to like end up with enough damage. Ended up preventing me from basically being swept, basically. And I think red card is actually really good for Rotom Mow. So basically I can freely will-wisp things. If anything's setting up on me, I can just always just red card out. I think also for him, red carding would be pretty good as well. But to prevent some of my other sweeps, but we'll see. But Will-O-Wisp, Leaf Storm, Foul Play, and Volt Switch. Lilith is to hit treads if it doesn't have sub. I was thinking if it brings sub, because Rotom Mo has problems with treads, also just dealing enough damage because you can sub off the Leaf Storm damage. So I think Foul Play does enough damage to actually break the sub, and we can live most hits. It's not going to bring Ice Spinner, I don't think, but it could bring Mega Horn. But yeah, we have Will-O-Wisp, Leaf Storm, Foul Play, and Volt Switch. We're not bringing Stab Thunder move or Thunderbolt because it's not really that strong into his team, honestly. Hits almost like everything for either resisted or neutral damage, so it's not that great. But Foul Play is actually super good. This also can help prevent setup things of I can just Foul Play something, do a lot of damage, even when it's like the Dunsparce at like +6. Foul Play should do a lot because it's based off their attack. Next, we have Sushi the Tatsugiri. With Lumberry, Storm Drain, Rapid Spin, Surf, Draco Meteor, and Nasty Plot. Lumberry is unique for, I think, 2 reasons. I think I wanted to switch into the Dunsparce, as well as I needed to switch into Typhlosion Hisui. And of course, it goes for Infernal Parade. I think the worst case scenario I'm thinking is like it goes for Infernal Parade. It does end up getting that 30% burn, and then it goes for another one, and then I'm not dead, but I like the idea of having Lumberry. This also can help me switch onto Dunsparce, kind of not freely, but at least a little bit more safely on body slams, because if I get paralyzed, it's not as big of a deal as it would be normally. I'm pretty sure even he might be running enough to Dunsparce speed to check to. I don't think he would though. I don't think he would, but maybe he'd be running enough speed to outspeed a paralyzed Tatsugiri, but I think that's a little obscure. Rapid Spin to get rid of hazards on our side because we do have Focus Sash, Cocaine Bear, Surf, Draco Meteor, and Nasty Plot. Overall, just really good coverage. Obviously, it does not really take down the Dunsparce very well, but that's why I'm thinking, like, if I have Tatsugiri out and he does bring in the Dunsparce, I'll probably Nasty Plot turn 1 as he goes for a Body Slam. If I do get paralyzed, I do have the Lumberry, and then I can just drop a Draco. That's kind of the main idea, at least. So yeah, this is Tatsugiri. And that's pretty much the team building for the playoffs. Whether we win or lose, I am happy that we made it this far. At least we are in the playoffs. Also, we have, like, I think our opponent has really good chances to actually win the whole thing because their squad is really strong. So I would not feel offended losing at all. Honestly, I don't feel offended losing to anyone in this league because everyone's got the skills to pay the bills and the teams. So yeah, I think without further ado, that's pretty much it for the team building. I'll let y'all know if I change anything before the matches, because I haven't sent in my team verification yet, so I'm still thinking about stuff. But yeah, let's get into the battles. All right, we are back for the battles. Just a little heads up before the battle starts. I do want to say that this posting will probably be a week after the date of it actually happening, just because of, like, playoffs are probably still actively going on, and I'll probably just be a week late on these, but they still will. I'll try to get them out as soon as possible. But in terms of going up against the Brooklyn Banettes, we see that they brought the Dunsparce, Iron Treads, Iron Leaves, Pincurchin, Salamence, and Iron Valiant. So I actually did a pretty good job of thinking about what they're going to bring. Especially Pincurchin was like a must bring that I was thinking, but also very useful for my Sneasler because it is Electric Seed. Very, very essential. Looking at the other squad, I was definitely thinking Iron Treads has to come, as just because it's so offensively good. So was Iron Valiant. I was definitely thinking Pincurchin, Treads, and Valiant for sure coming. I think just Dunsparce, almost a necessity, just because you have to respect Bascu Legion, and then Salamence and Iron Leaves. So as soon as I'm loading up, I'm quickly deciding, looking at his squad of like what is basically the defensive check against Sneasler. And looking at the squad, I know for a fact at this moment that Salamence has to be defensive, most likely with a Rocky Helmet. I'm not entirely sure, but there also could be other ways of Scarfers or however to potentially stop my unburdened Sneasler. So for my lead, I'm definitely still questioning whether to go with Sandaconda, Hatterene, or I think what was my other potential lead, Rotom? I don't think so. I think it was either Sandaconda or Hatterene, because I'm worried if the Pincurchin goes out first, I don't know what to do. So I do lead off with the Sandaconda. I think that also works against the Iron Treads leads in case they're thinking that I'm going to lead off with Hatterene. So I do lead off with my defensive Sandaconda, and I see Iron Valiant is out immediately. So for me, I didn't know what to do exactly here. I could have switched into hat, but then I take almost half if it's mixed. And then it's like I basically don't take it on. So at this point, I'm like, well, I can either get up stealth rocks or I can do a little bit of chip damage on this. I end up deciding to go for some stealth rocks. He goes for a moonblast. It does 60%. I also saw no life orb, so I was very interested. I couldn't really tell what this item was. I do set up the sand, which is really good for chip, and I stealth rock. And then this turn, I didn't know what to do again. I was still concerned of, well, I can't really switch into hat because then I take like more than 50%, but Sandicana basically did its job in getting up rocks, which puts pressure on treads to at least spend once. So I do end up saving my Sandicana pretty early, but I think it is effective of getting chip on Iron Valiant, as well as getting stealth rocks up. So I do have some offensive potential here, especially if he's on the back burner of taking these rock damage, especially if Salamence. I was definitely thinking that Mence had to be Rocky Helmet, since the last time I did sweep him with reversal, or not reversal, endure basically strategy, unburden endure strategy. So I was definitely thinking that he might be Rocky Helmet, but I wasn't too sure. So I do go into hat this turn. I do lead off knowing that I do kill the Psychic. I was a little bit worried that he was going to go into Treads or potentially to Dunsparce, so I kind of make a play and thinking that he's going to switch out. And he actually goes for a Shadow Ball and does already half to me. I think Moonblast does a little bit less. I think before I said I could probably take one, but I didn't want my hat too low because I know it has some other things that it needs to kill. So I do take a Shadow Ball for no reason, and then I slow Baton Pass my Sneasler. Once I saw this play, I was very confused. I didn't understand he was essentially sacking his Valiant here. Later on, I think, let me write this down to explain this later of what he was doing in this situation. Iron Valiant sack. I will talk about that in next video, or not next video, but in the next battle. So I go into Sneasler, and I'm like, well, if he was willing to sack it on Hatterene, that must mean that he's willing to sack it now. So I do go for a Dark Claw, and I do take it out. This also would have been, I think it would have been a good opportunity for him to just go straight into Mence, if that's what he was scared about. If you did want to preserve this, but then of course Mence, depending on if it's Rocky Helmet, it's going to take rock damage, and then a Dire Claw, it's not going to look good. So I am able to kill the Iron Valiant. It could have hard switched in Treads as well and then been immune, but then he's got to double around what I'm clicking. So then we do see Salamence come out. It does take the 24%, meaning that it's not heavy duty boots, and it's most likely Rocky Helmet but I wasn't too sure. At this point, I am going to go for Hatterene because I'm thinking he's probably going to do a Wing Beat, which I could get the most damage off with my Rocky Helmet. He actually ends up going for a Roost. I think he was kind of seeing the Rock's damage as annoying. He also probably could have seen me either set up. I wasn't entirely sure. And actually, right before this battle, well, I won't spoil it yet. We'll see it. I'll talk about it later when we do see it. But he does decide to switch out into Salamence, and I go for, I think, a Dazzling Gleam, right? No, I actually go for a Psychic just because I thought he also might go into Treads. Still, Psychic, I think, does a little bit more than Dazzling Gleam. I think it's base 90 instead of 80. That's why I decided to go for that. I do see Pincurchin take this 36, which actually means that it's specially defensive. I was actually thinking to be defensive because I think it actually takes one hit from Sneasler if absolutely necessary. But especially defensive does make sense because if I'm leading Sandaconda, I 2-hit KO it even if it's defensive. So that is actually a really good set on his part. So let's see, he actually decides to double, which is a really good play on his part. I don't know exactly what I do here. I actually drive Baton Pass. Yeah. I think it's because I can't remember based off my speed tiers. I still should outspeed him. So either one of two things, he just goes for a discharge, which I could have gone into like Rodon Mo, or I was thinking either Tatsugiri. But this Baton Pass strategy is very nice for me because essentially he did switch there because Pincurchin has no switch initiative and doesn't have access to Volt Switch. I am allowed to get a Baton Pass out and essentially work on this Tread. So here's actually something super crucial. I go into Lycanroc. And I actually really messed up because I didn't see that I only had 1 turn of Sandstorm up. So the problem of that means is I outspeed him right now, but even if he's 252 jolly, 252 like 252 attack, 252 speed, I don't kill him with the close combat from full. So I think me being in right now almost bluffs banned, because if I'm banded, I'm pretty sure I knock him out. So I think for him, he's definitely does not want to risk me being banned and immediately lose treads, because that means that rocks stay up. So he decides to switch into Dunsparce, but I'm actually not banned. I am sashed. Based off this damage, you can definitely tell I'm not banned. But now the Sandstorm is gone, meaning that my Lycanroc actually does not have Sand Rush anymore. It does outspeed things outside of the terrain, but it's yeah, it's basically exposed, and I kind of really showed my bluff of like it's not actually banded. But for him, I think for him that made sense, because if he loses treads that early because of that, it is definitely problematic, and I think I almost win the game from there if treads is gone. Then Leaves comes out. At this point, I have like I don't really have Leaves switching, because especially I don't know if it's like Swords Dance or whatever. I do switch out into Hatterene because I do want the Rocky Helmet chip. I also see that it's Quark Drive attack, meaning that's its highest stat. It does Terra Psychic, which is actually really unusual. I was expecting it to be fighting, but this definitely makes sense because the Psychic Psyblade in the terrain is going to be doing hella damage. And once I saw this do that much, I was like, damn, 36 and it's resisted. Like, I don't know what this is running, but it is doing a lot of damage. So I am very worried about this thing, but I was thinking, I wasn't even looking at this calc properly because I didn't calc in Terra Psychic, but I thought I lived at 70%, but actually I don't know if this Psyblade was a chance to kill or not, but I do end up living this Psyblade going for about 92%, but because I am red card, it does force out the Iron Leaves. Goes on to Salamence. I was really hoping, I mean, I was either thinking about Volt Switching here or Will-O-Wisping, but I think Will-O-Wisping was the best play, because if it is Iron Treads, then essentially I get nothing out of my red card, so I am going to go for a Will-O-Wisp, which is actually pretty good on Salamence because it does chip it down a little bit for my Sneasler. So here I am actually going for a Volt Switch, because I didn't know whether he was just going to kill me off or I could just Volt Switch out. But because he doesn't kill me, it's actually pretty good for me. I think he did want to Roost there, because if he just kills me, then he's almost at a percent where Sneasler can just come in, especially without an Intimidate, and kind of set up and clean the rest of the guys. So we do Volt Switch. Go out into my Lycanroc, especially if Lycanroc is not intimidated. This is more than half, which is really good. So I am curious to see what he's gonna go for. I also thought about maybe he might switch into Treads, but I am Focus Sash if that's technically a thing, and I think the combination of Stealth Rocks into a Stone Edge, even if he finds 4 times resisted, a close combat should kill him. So I do go for a Stone Edge here. We do about 66%, which is super good. He actually shows Dragon Tail, which is actually super dope tech. This is exactly what I was thinking about. Like right before this match, I was looking at what can Salamence do to stop my Sneasler from setting up, especially if I have an Electric Seed defense up. Like Rock Slide does nothing to me. And then I was like, I checked Roar, I checked Whirlwind. This music is really loud. Hold on. This music is fire, but so loud. I was really worried about Roar or Whirlwind being a potential tech on it, and then I saw, oh, it does get Dragon Tail. So him showing this is actually super good. It does force me out into my Rotom Mow. At this point, I'm still thinking that he's going to Roost, but if he kills me here, that's even better for me. So I think I do decide to go for a Volt Switch. Even if he gets that Roost up, it's not really a big deal to me, because I can just bring Lycanroc back out. I do basically not have my Sash anymore, but I know my Stone Edge will kill. Unfortunately, I do miss my Stone Edge. It's a little bit unfortunate. I take more damage than I want, but he does show another move off his potential set of Dragon Tail, Dragon Claw, meaning there's a good chance that my Hatterene can just straight up wall his Salamence. So luckily I do go for another Stone Edge and I do kill him. At this point, basically Lycanroc is dead, but it is faster than the other two, meaning Pincurchin has to come out. Right here I'm debating whether I should go for Stone Edge or I should go for Close Combat in case he switches. I think his best bet is to also sack here because he doesn't know what I'm going for. But I do go for a Close Combat just in case Treads decides to come out, because I did see that Close Combat killed. He does bring out Treads. I don't know if he spins here. I think he does. So, oh, he actually went for Iron Head. So I was debating whether if he went for Rapid Spin, if that killed me, and I don't think it did, but I wasn't willing to stay in and check. But if he Rapid Spun there, I think he almost like guaranteed won the game. So it does take me out with an Iron Head. Then I come out with Tatsugiri. I'm basically trying not to show off my Sneasler set if possible, because I know Sneasler is like the biggest threat to his team. And I know Tatsugiri can live one Earthquake, so I do go for a Surf with 91%. I was actually guaranteed that kill. With 91%, I'm pretty sure that almost means that it's AV, which is actually pretty crazy. So he does end up killing my Tatsugiri, but I at least get some more information on what he is. Also, me living that Earthquake shows him that I at least have some HP and invested stuff. And then I do go for Sneasler to come in. The Electric Terrain is still up, so I can proc my Defensive Berry. I do go for Acrobatics. I think that was honestly a misplay. So, I think the reason why that was a misplay is I think I should have set up on it. I probably could have Terra Flying. I think even with my defense, even if he had Ice Spinner, I was guaranteed to live one, and I should have SD'd up on there. That was definitely a giant mistake on my part, because now I thought at this percentage I was guaranteed this kill on Iron Leaves, but Iron Leaves is like definitely not bad defensively. So I actually I didn't want to show off my Terra as well, but I absolutely have to Terra Flying to get this kill. And I was actually shocked by killing this because I'm pretty sure that it was a roll. So last turn, me not Swords Dancing was a huge misplay, but I do end up getting the Acrobatics kill off. I seriously don't know the chances of killing this, because I don't know if I miscalculated at the time, but I saw it did like max 63. I mean, he is at 59, but I think it could have been a roll, which is definitely a bad play on my part. So we do win game one, which is really good. We do get some valuable information of Sneasler has a lot of potential to sweep. Basically, the Salamence is defensive. It also has Dragon Tail, so if we get rid of the Salamence, there's a high likelihood that Sneasler can sweep. Also, bad things. The Dunsparce we didn't see a lot of, which can be really bad depending on if it's a coil set. Pincurchin also, especially defensive, not defensive. Also Leaves does a lot of damage. We have to be worried about that, as so does Valiant. So going into game two, I'm debating on my lead again. I'm definitely thinking either Sandaconda or Hatterene again. Since I let off Sandaconda this time, I thought Hatterene was honestly my best play, because if Valiant is a lead again, it beats that, and if Pincurchin is a lead, it also beats that. So I do lead off Hatterene, and I do go for a Psychic straight up, because I think he is, even if he's specially defensive, if he went into Treads, he's still taking a lot, and I didn't know if he was going to go directly into Treads yet, and I didn't really know what he wanted to go for, but I think he is just going for a Discharge here. Taking that Discharge, I take about 33%, which is what I'm calculating, and luckily I do not get paralyzed, which is super good. And I also get a special defense drop on the Psychic, which basically guarantees that he needs to switch out. Otherwise, he's still gonna, I mean, it's not killing him at -1 special defense, but he is getting super low, where the rocks might kill him in the future. So I am gonna go for a Baton Pass while he switches out into Iron Treads. I am actually playing super well this game, which is very surprising compared to the rest of the earlier this season. But does go into Treads, which means that I have the ability to either go Tatsugiri or Sandaconda. Because Tatsugiri doesn't one-shot, I'm definitely leaning more towards Sandaconda, as well as I can threaten him out with an EQ, or I can go for a Stealth Rock. Right here, I didn't know what he wanted to go for. He could have also, I was still debating on whether he wanted to go for Iron Head or Stealth Rock of his own, but also since he brought to Dunsparce, I'm definitely leaning that Dunsparce is the Stealth Rocker. Excuse me. but I wasn't too sure. So I do actually go for a glare, and I think it's my best play because it does weaken treads as well. It can affect a lot of things if he switches out. So I do catch the iron leads on the glare, which is absolutely huge. I do envision him going for a leaf blade. I was thinking about going Rotom Mow, but I think Hatterene is best because it is defensive. And we see that it still does 58, and I am like max defense Hatterene, which is absolutely insane because of the Cork Drive attack. And at first when I saw this, I was like, holy shit, that's gotta be banded. But we will see later on that that is not necessarily the case. Luckily we get a paralysis, which is absolutely huge. I was totally prepared to take this death anyway, and maneuver around this and find ways of killing this, but basically getting off that mystical fire damage is pretty huge. That extra 45% definitely helps because it allows me to bring in different stuff to kill it, as well as even taking more damage to the Rocky Helmet. Next we bring out Mo. At this point he hasn't terra'd yet, so I'm debating. I was thinking about going for a Volt Switch, but then we might not kill, but I haven't showed Foul Play yet, so I'm thinking he could try to save this. I don't think it's worth saving, but just in case he does try to go on treads on the Volt Switch, or like any kind of switches, maybe into, I don't know, Valiant, Mens, I don't know, we can still catch him on a Foul Play. The Dunsparce does come out. I do show my Foul Play. Does a good 19%, which means that it's not any attack invested. And a show leftovers. So I do Volt Switch out. Right here, I'm really concerned about a Body Slam. I'm debating whether I want to go Sandaconda or have Tatsugiri with a Lumberry. And I think Sandaconda is my play because at this point I can set up Stealth Rocks if I need to. Does go for a Body Slam, 18%. Does not get the Paralyze, which is absolutely huge. And we set up the Sand Spit. There's also one turn of Electric Terrain left. At this point, because the sand is up, it's definitely nullifying his leftovers damage. I'm thinking this is a great opportunity to either Glare or Stealth Rock. I thought he also might switch into Tread, so I think I go for a Glare here. Don't quote me. No, I actually go for Rocks first. He's going for a Body Slam because hopefully he's trying to paralyze me. That is the case. I think this turn we go for a Glare, right? Cripple for Cripple. Nice. So we do get the Glare off. That's essentially just a way of making the Dunsparce a little bit weaker. As you can see, we just had a complete turn where nothing happened because we both got paralyzed. I was actually debating, I didn't know what percentage he would want to roost at, but essentially at some point I do want to switch into Tatsugiri to threaten this thing out. Unfortunately, I did not demo that turn because I thought he would be a little bit more risky on his roost, but it's totally fine. I'm gonna Earthquake again to get him back into that roost range, especially after that paralyze. I'm like, okay, now he's definitely roosting. So this is a great opportunity for me to switch. So I do switch and go into Tatsugiri. At this point, I don't know what he wants to go for, but essentially it's really good for me to Nasty Plot up here because even if he Body Slams, I do have a Lumberry for the paralysis. So I'm pretty sure I 100% go for a Nasty Plot. Okay, so I do go for a Nasty Plot, as well as like I'm really nervous of, I think I checked a calc, even if this was max speed, I think I checked if he was Jolly Iron Lee's max speed, I still outsped him. But then I saw that he outsped me, which is absolutely crazy, meaning that he is 100% Scarf, and I'm just stupid. Thank God the terrain went away, because I don't think I was normally living that, but because I am 252 HP, I do live that. I don't know how I live that, but I do live that, and I go for a Surf and I kill it. This basically brings in Treads. I'm at 4 HP. I'm definitely thinking about whether I switch or not. I do sack because essentially if I go into Rotom Mow, it activates my red card still, and he rapid spins on my red card, and basically he gets his Treads out for free, which is not really what I want. I could also go into Sandaconda to get up the sand, but then I didn't know if it was still advantageous for me because Sandaconda is very low HP as well as paralyzed. So I do have my Tatsugiri, sack off my Tatsugiri there, and he does get a +1 speed boost, which is a little bit annoying. I think here I go for the Stealth Rock because I'm definitely imagining him switching because I definitely did not think that he wanted the Earthquake damage. And then he actually shows off Ice Spinner, which is a crazy tech because Ice Spinner actually gets rid of your terrain. So I was very surprised by Ice Spinner. It definitely worked in this scenario, but I was definitely expecting just like Mega Horn for Rotom Mo. But he actually brought Ice Spinner, which is pretty crazy. Because it seems anti-synergistic with the team, but of course in these scenarios with the terrain not up, it definitely works. So he does go for an Ice Spinner. He hits me, does 30%, activates the Sand Spit, which is really good. And then I think I'm spamming Earthquake here. He goes for a Rapid Spin, and I go for an Earthquake, do a clean 71%. It's absolutely huge. And then I double out into Rotom Mo on the Rapid Spin. I was definitely thinking he might Rapid Spin or Iron Head here, but I think because I am defensive Rotom Mo, it didn't really matter. But it is actually nice because if he did Rapid Spin there, that means that he outspin my Lightning Rock the following turn. So this red card is actually super huge for us. Of course, as you can tell, low plays, we only make the best plays out here. That's a lie. We take hard L's actually. And it actually brings up the Dunsparce on my Rotom. But I still didn't know what to do here, so I actually sack my Sandaconda. I was really hoping he was not a setup set, because otherwise that would have been pretty problematic if he was still Coil. So I do bring in my Sandaconda as a sack. Absolutely huge. Thank you, Sandaconda. And then who do we bring out here? Sorry about the train. I just paused the game because I thought I could stop it, but we do bring out Lycanroc. At this point, I'm like, okay, there's really good opportunities here for me to absolutely win as long as I don't get paralyzed. But even if this is the case, there's actually a lot of potential of me doing enough damage where Sneasler can clean up. So and he still has Pincurchin. He could just wait in the back to never bring out Pincurchin, but eventually Pincurchin does have to come out. So we do set up a Swords Dance, absolutely praying to God that we don't get paralyzed here. And he shows Glare instead of Body Slam, which is actually so fucking such a good tech. Really good tech there. That means that he was body slamming Tatsugiri early, like he was willing to body slam Tatsugiri instead of actually glaring it, which is crazy. We do get paralyzed, but it's totally fine because actually with Sand Rush up, we're basically at normal speed. So as long as Pincurchin Iron Valiant outspeeds us, but as long as Pincurchin doesn't hit the field, Treads is still slower than us. So I do go for a close combat, but I get paralyzed, which really sucks. He shows Thunderbolt, which is actually a super huge tech, because I knew that like if I have Vascular Legion, he needs something to hit it with this to Dunsparce. Otherwise, it's not really a true counter. I could also just sub, and then he would have absolutely nothing in it me with. So really cool tech with Thunderbolt, because that's how he hits the Vascular Legion. I was curious whether he'd be Thunderbolt or Shadow Ball, but it definitely works. Here, I'm gonna go for another close combat. Of course, I get paralyzed again. That's just how we do. He goes for a Roost there. I don't know exactly why. Maybe he thinks he lives. I don't know. I think he's also trying to stall out the Sandstorm damage, or the Sandstorm turns. That's also probably pretty smart on him. But we do actually have one more turn of Sandstorm to get this close combat off, and we do get it off, which is actually huge. Because it was Spadef, I definitely knew that that close combat killed. At this point, he brings in Treads, but because Santa's not up, I know that I die here. I think I go Mo? I can't really remember. Yeah, I do go Mo here. I think my plan is to basically prepare my Sneasler to sweep. So Ice Spinner goes out. I do go for the Will-O-Wisp. I miss again. Absolutely brutal. Will-O-Wisp here, and then I basically sack. I think the Will-O-Wisp miss was actually nice because if I Will-O-Wisp, he doesn't kill me with the Ice Spinner the following turn. I don't really want to kill this. So maybe I just spam Willow though. I'm not sure, and just let him kill me. He does go for a Rapid Spin. I think that's actually important. I can't exactly remember. Sneasler, I go for Flying just because I didn't know whether he's either going for Quake, Iron Head, or Ice Spinner. Definitely not going for Rapid Spin. So here I am going for Sneasler. Not really knowing what I should do, of whether I should Terra Flying or not. It's like a whole bunch of 50-50s. But I do know I need to set up in order to kill the Mence. What's it at? 100%, meaning I definitely need +3, meaning I need 2 Sword Dances to win this game. He Iron Head me once, brings me down to 69%. Unfortunately, because of Ice Spinner, or no, I was thinking because of the burn, this is actually essential. Because Ice Spinner, I think, does 71% without the burn, but now because he is burned, he's doing a lot less damage, meaning I am allowed to Sword Stance up one more time. Yeah, as you can see, 38%. Actually, I couldn't actually Sword Stance up again there. I think the reason why I did that because after that rapid spin, he actually outspun me, or outsped me with the prior move. That's why I didn't go for another Sword Stance there. But if I did, I would have choked. So, still have a lot of potential to end this game right now. I'm like, okay, here we go. He's gonna bring in Mechs, and then he brings in Valiant. I was like, okay, well, this just dies. Go for a Dark Claw. It's Focus Sash. Okay, and this makes actually a lot of sense based on game 1. How he played the first couple of turns of willing to sack it to Hatterene. Because the Sash was broken due to Sandspit, it really wasn't as important. But it's actually kind of crucial because I did bring Sandspit to do that essential chip and to get rid of the Focus Sashes. So it's actually super huge for me. So even though we lose this game, we get a lot of information. Yeah, we did get hacks, but it's totally fine. I don't know if it was the hacks were enough for me to lose the game, but yeah, we definitely had some random RNG ruin our battle there, but it's definitely not enough. We're going into game 3. This is for all the marbles. This music is so fucking loud, dog. Let's go back to the here we are, game 3. Oh, switch sides. Huge game 3 for the playoffs, first week of the playoffs. Okay, so we figured out a lot. What do we need for Sneasler to win? We definitely need to take down Iron Valiant Sash. That can be as easy as setting up Stealth Rocks. So to be honest, I have no idea. I'm having flashbacks right now. I can't even remember what I led this game, but I am still basically debating between Sandaconda and Hatterene. Those are like my only 2 leads. But this time I was like, okay, well, I led Sandaconda, I led Hatterene, but I've also kind of realized my Tatsugiri is not as important as it is. I think from game 2, we saw the Dunsparce doesn't have Stealth Rocks, as well as Treads. I think Treads showed Earthquake, right? Yeah. So Treads also doesn't have Earthquake, meaning it might not be as essential as we think to keep Tatsugiri around. Also, like, our Surf doesn't one-shot Treads. Draco Meteor can be important sometimes, but like, what is it really useful for? So I'm actually going to lead off with Tatsugiri. Pincurchin leads. At this point, I'm like, okay, well, I do know that I have a Lumbear. He doesn't know that, so I can actually debate whether the Nasty Claw here or do enough damage. I'm actually just going to go for some chip damage. I think there's actually some kind of tech here where he actually sacks his Pincurchin to prevent my Sneasler from sweeping in the future. But I do naturally outspeed everything outside of terrain. I think the only thing that we would be worried about is the Choice Scarf Iron Leaves. But it's just an idea. I do go for a Surf and see that he goes for a Spikes. The Spikes is actually not bad for me because in this situation I still know that I have my Lumberry, so I can freely Rapid Spin and there's nothing stopping me from Rapid Spinning. So I do Rapid Spin up. He decides to go for a Discharge, and luckily enough he does not get a Paralysis, which means that he could still stay in here and try to go for another one. There's a lot of things to do here. I could spin again. I'm actually gonna Nasty Plot, hoping that he goes for a Spike and just goes for another Spike and hopefully thinks that he can whittle me down, which, I mean, I'm whittling him down, he's whittling me down. It's definitely an iffy situation here, but I think him sacking for Spikes is not terrible. But also, because I am not max speed, I need, I think, at least 2 Rapid Spins. No, I think I need 2 or 3 Rapid Spins to outspeed Treads and Terrain, which is a lot. So I think I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, this is like definitely not happening because I need a lot to outspeed Treads. It's either 3 or 4. But I am glad that I run the HP because I did end up living the side blade from Leaves last turn, or last game. So here I'm pretty sure I do go for a nasty plot. He goes for a recover, which I'm like, okay, maybe there is potential to win this with Tatsugiri. I'm not entirely sure. What do I go here for? I just go straight up for a surf in case Treads decides to come out. But he does take 74% for the Dunsparce. That is actually huge. And we do knock out the Dunsparce like right away, which is absolutely massive because this thing could definitely be a wall to our Pokemon and can definitely make us lose the game. Can be really problematic with paralysis. So essentially getting rid of this thing allows where I don't get hacks again, which is really cool. So Iron Valiant comes out next. Obviously this thing is going to kill me with a Moonblast, especially if he's got Quark Drive speed up. So I do just end up sacking my Tatsugiri. Obviously a little problematic if Pincurchin wants to set up spikes, but of course we always have Hat for spikes, so we can always switch in on that. We don't even take that much from Discharge. So I do end up going Hat here. Basically, I wasn't too sure whether he wanted to basically... I know he's sashed, but I'm like, okay, does he want to keep his sash intact? Or does he want to preserve the sash because he knows how problematic Sneasler is? So I'm like, okay, well, game one, I basically baton passed out and threw and took a lot of damage on my Hatterene. And he knows that he basically, it's like a roll to 2-hit KO me with Shadow Ball. So I think him in this position, he's like, okay, well, I'm about to take a Psychic. So I need to switch out. And for me, I'm like, okay, well, I know how important his sash is to stop my Sneasler. So I'm actually going to baton pass out. So he does go for Treads and I switch. And I baton pass out into my Sandaconda. Obviously, I know that I can take this thing on. Now, here's actually a really hard decision again of whether I should Earthquake, Glare, or Stealth Rock. Obviously, Stealth Rock is really good because I can get rid of Iron Valiant's Focus Sash. Earthquake, obviously, I can get like 71% off. And Glare also prevents the Leaves or the Med switch in. Pincurchin also, like Earthquake, I mean, so far I haven't seen what its last move is, but it might be Chilling Water. But honestly, I'm seeing from Pincurchin that it might not be able to touch my Sandaconda either. So right here, take the Ice Spinner of 29%, also gets rid of the Electric Terrain, which, you know, is actually pretty useful because they do know that I have Electric Sneasler now. I do go for the Glare just in case there's a switch out. And then here, I think I go for the Stealth Rocks because I was expecting a switch. I think he's also, like, you know, baiting me into Earthquake to actually kill the Pincurchin. Oof, 88%. Oof, I don't go for Stealth Rock, but that Earthquake did a shit ton. At this point, Pincurchin is sitting here. If it recovers, I get up Stealth Rock. I think I switch here? Do I not switch here? Oh, he switches. Okay, very interesting. Okay, so he does want to keep the Pincurchin alive. I mean, it makes sense. Iron Leaves is about to do a hell of a lot of damage. But also, I think I don't know. Maybe I switched here? Did I switch here? Sorry, this last game was a blur. I definitely went for Rocks. I think that's because of how important Breaking Valiant Sashes is. I absolutely knew that I needed to get those Stealth Rocks up. But honestly, Spikes there would have been pretty bad too, because it does break my Lycanroc's Focus Sash. But, you know, you live and you learn. We do switch out into Rotom-Mow on the Iron Leaves Leaf Blade. We take 23%, which is still really a lot considering we're defensive Rotom. So red card, out into Treads. Honestly, this is really bad for me because you know, obviously Treads is paralyzed. I can't burn it. I don't really know what I'm supposed to be doing here. It's probably just gonna Rapid Spin. And I switch out into Sandaconda, I think? No, I actually go for a Leaf Storm, do 44%. Get a little bit of chip damage here. Luckily, I do get the paralysis off, which is absolutely huge, because that means that he didn't spin. So right here, I'm thinking about more. I'm like, okay, now he's in a range where my Earthquake can kill his Treads. So now I feel like I'm in a really good position to go into my Sandaconda, and he gets paralyzed again. So sad, rip, because the spin is really, really important. And I thought at this point, I was like, okay, well, actually, because of this paralysis, If he was Jolly, I think I outspeed him, but I don't think I do. But doesn't matter because he gets paralyzed a third time, and preventing not being able to set up that spin is absolutely terrible because that means Valiant's sash is broken, meaning Sneasler can now very comfortably sleep. But yeah, these paralysis were really fucked up. Honestly, game 2 I got a little bit of hacks against me, but also like game 3 this is like brutal amount of like really game altering hacks right there. So very unfortunate because I do go for an earthquake and knock him out here. I'm thinking of scenarios of what could have happened because I think he's basically always gonna sack to me setting up rocks. Then what could have happened, probably Leaves comes out. I think I have to go Rotom again, and he potentially takes out my Rotom. I think there's a lot that could have happened, and then I go Hat. I don't know, but Treads is also gone, meaning I could probably Stealth Rock up later. It definitely could have been a different game, but the game still isn't over at all. But because of that Stealth Rock, we have a really good chance to sweep with Sneasler. Leaves comes out, goes for an attack boost. I'm pretty sure I just stay in. Yeah, I just take that Leaf Blade because I do know it's Scarf. I go into the Rotom Mow. I know that I know that he's Scarfed. He needs to keep the Scarf around for my Sneasler actually, and I think because of terrain, I don't think he stays alive. But okay, so this is actually a super crucial play, what is about to happen, because basically, let me go back a turn. He kills my Sandaconda, and I go into Rotom. But at this point, I'm like, okay, I went into Rotom to block the damage on this thing. For him, I don't think he's gonna sack the Leaves because of how important this is. There's also only one turn of Electric Terrain up. My gut feeling here was to actually switch in Sneasler to activate the Electric Seed one last time to potentially sweep the game. But the problem with that is if he stayed in and Leaf Blade, I take a lot of damage, and I don't know if I take out Mence, as well as if I make that scenario of switching directly out into Sneasler. Well, first of all, why am I talking about switching directly out into Sneasler? Well, I brought this in, and I obviously take his Leaf Blades like a lot. I could just Will-O-Wisp and honestly completely cripple this thing where it doesn't really matter that it's Scarf. But he has Pincurchin with 6%, meaning he can easily switch it out and sack it. So with my big brain maneuvers, I'm like, okay, he's switching out into Pincurchin. So I can either go Sneasler and proc my Electric Seed, but then the problem is I know I don't one-shot Salamence, even if it's at 75% because of rocks, and then Dragon Tails, and then I lose my Unburden Sweep for the necessary kill on Iron Leaves. So for me, positionally, what do I want that can beat the rest of these Pokemon? Having Rotom out is kind of bad. Like, he could go Iron Valiant and Moonblast me, or he can go Mence. I don't know what his final move on Mence is. I don't think it would be DD, but it could be. I mean, also I have Will-O-Wisp, so I basically take that down. But I'm really worried about Valiant coming out and just Moonblasting me and killing my Rotom Mow. So in terms of what I have in my squad, I could also double out into Lycanroc, but then that basically brings out Leaves or Valiant. Also, Mence could just straight up come out. But I think Hatterene actually does a really good job taking out all three with just Dazzling Gleam. So I actually make a super crucial play, because if I'm leaving out Clippers here, I'm basically sacking Clippers, which is actually pretty important for Leaves later on. So I do double out and a Hatterene predicting the Pincurchin sack. So I do get that off, and he actually takes a couple seconds thinking about what he needs to do to try to win this game. Because now I have such good positioning with Hatterene out. Obviously Mence can't come out on me because I'm pretty sure it doesn't have a move for me. If Leaves comes out, and we do kind of go on to like a 50-50 of whether he's gonna Terra or not. I mean, I don't have Shadow Ball, I just have Dazzling Gleam. But I also have Mystical Fire, so I think I always spam Dazzling Gleam here. But he does go Valiant to get off the necessary chip, I think, to kill my Leaves. So does go for the Shadow Ball, I go for the Dazzling Gleam and one-shot him. Here comes Iron Leaves. No Quark attack, by the way. So I actually go for another Dazzling Gleam. He goes for Leaf Blade. I mean, I get why. I guess if he was to lock himself into Psychic, though, I think he should have gone for Psyblade. Although I don't think it mattered all that much. But I mean, if he is Terra Psychic, I think if Leaf Blade is not 2-hit KOing, it's probably your best bet. But I do go for a Dazzling Gleam, get off even more chip, which is huge. And he kills me with a Leaf Blade. And now he's down at 3%, so I can go Rotom Mow. And now I'm sitting here, I'm like, okay, well, he definitely cannot switch out Iron Leaves, meaning as long as I save the 2 best Pokemon for Ments in the back, I'm basically free, as well as I know I can live this Leaf Blade. So I think I go for a Volt Switch because I think you want even better initiative for Ments. Basically, my goal here is to sack Lycanroc to Stone Edge, and then potentially, I mean, my Rotom is slow though, but I'm pretty sure I can live Declaw because I am defensive, and he's also defensive, so I could also get a Will-O-Wisp if necessary. So I do go into Lycanroc, he goes into Ments, takes a good 25%. Does get an Intimidate off, but it doesn't matter all that much because I am doing about half. Once I showed the half, I mean, he could have roosted there to try to stall out my Stone Edges, but at this point I was debating whether I should play rough or Stone Edge, but ultimately the game is won with the combination of the last Pokemon that I have. But GG's, huge GG's. So, oh my, this is a 43-minute long video. I talked so much, god damn. Yikes. Yeah, GG's to Brooklyn Banettes. That means that we're going on to playoffs round 2 against the Wichita Weaviles, which actually wrecked us the first time. But I am hoping that we can get a dub and hopefully come out as Season 2 champion. It looked really good alongside my Season 1 champion. But overall, we played really, really well. Obviously, game 1s and 2 were still very sketchy, but I think game 3 I definitely played appropriately and played really well. Except my opponent as well. He played really, really good. Bred a lot of cool sets to stop my Steeler sweep. We were just able to maneuver around, and I really hope this guy comes back for the next season because he's a really good opponent as well as a really good player, and you love to see good players in the league. So would love to start like a casual rivalry with this guy. But yeah, New York Nickets going in for playoffs. What do you call it? What are you saying was like playoff 2? Anyway, playoff 2. I've been talking for way too long. I'm so sorry. Like, comment, subscribe if you enjoyed this content. Stay tuned for more next week. New York Nickets champion season 2. Let's go. Get pumped. Get hyped.